Everyone hits a bump in the road. What do you do with it? Be inspired as we explore the ways people experience, navigate, and manage the ups and downs and twists and turns in this road trip called life. Welcome to another episode of Bump in the Road. The basic podcast is always free. We also have a premium subscription called Bump 2 that lets you listen in on extended behind-the-scenes conversations with our guests. Check it out at www.bumpintheroad.us.
Are you enjoying your best life? Are you truly present? And if not, if like most of us, you're caught up in your thoughts rather than in the here and now, could you use a toolbox of techniques that would make you more present? Kim McIntyre has the toolbox for you, and her lead tool is laughter. Join us for a talk about getting more presence, more love, and more gratitude out of your life each and every day. Kim, welcome to Bump in the Road. If you would, tell us your story.
Thanks, Pat. Yes. So I would say a significant part of my life story was a health challenge that happened back in 2001. And basically it was this bump in my mouth. Talk about bump in the road. It was a bump in my mouth. And after the initial biopsy, turned out it was not cancer. And I say initial biopsy was challenging in and of itself because it was kind of almost a full-fledged surgery. And I discovered it wasn't cancerous. And so we kind of went on hold for a little bit and did some second, third, fourth opinions because initially what they wanted to do looked a little aggressive for me, given that it wasn't life-threatening. And so we got some different doctors' opinions. And during that time period, I was very, very stressed. And honestly, my life up until 2001, like the 10 years prior to that, had a lot of high stress in it. And so I was just kind of wound very, very tight at this point in my life. And so I attended a program called Getting Well, which is basically a support program that used to exist in my town for people going through health challenges. So we would do amazing things like art therapy and group, support groups and all the different modalities and things that we would experiment with to help us really feel like ourselves in the middle of the challenge that we were all facing. And the thing that hooked me every day for this 2 weeks that I was at this place, we would do laughter and play therapy every day. And it felt like coming home. And we would do things like play games without keeping score. And it wasn't about keeping score. It was just about laughing. And it just felt like, oh, right. This is who I was as a kid. This is who I really am at my essence, at my core. And I had completely lost touch with it. And so, And so to wrap up the mouth story, we ended up consulting with a doctor who, unlike most of the other doctors we had seen who wanted to do amazingly intense surgeries on me, he had a treatment where you would put shots, instead of surgeries. And it would be a series of shots over a series of months. And we consulted with him. And at that point, it had been a few months. And he's like, this bump hasn't grown since you first had that initial surgery, and it is not life-threatening. And I see hundreds of these a year, unlike the other people. I see more of these rare things. And, get it checked every 6 months and don't take up boxing. I'm like, I can do that. I have no intention of taking up boxing. And now, every now and then I still get the scan, and it looks like it's turned to bone now. In my jaw. I just have a little extra bump there. And when I think of if I had followed some of the initial advice and gone and, I would have lost sensation in half of my face. I would have had major scarring. I would have, almost like I'd had a stroke on one side of my face. If I would have lost a lot of nerve damage and stuff if I'd done some of the surgeries that initially were recommended. And so if it's possible to get second, third opinions, it's always a good idea. Sometimes it's more confusing because you're like, well, which choice do I take? But it was a powerful experience for me. And from the laughter, I know your next, and like what happened after is probably your next question. So the laughter had a huge impact on my life. Yeah.
I think the laughter is really profound. Prakito Dove is a meditation teacher, a speaker, author, and she teaches laughter meditation.
Yes.
And it sounds, like seriously, it is fantastic. It totally changes your whole biochemistry when you're laughing.
Definitely. Definitely. So to continue this story, basically I went to this 2-week program and then I went home and I'm like, where's my laughter fix today? I was like, I gotta have it. You can't live without it anymore. And not too long after that, I saw a little ad in a little magazine to become trained to become a certified laughter leader. And I'm like, that's it. I got to go do that. And so 2 weeks later, I was like on a plane to go get this training. And I haven't turned back since. I've been sharing what I learned in groups, small and large, since then. And the sharing of it is kind of miraculous because people walk in, they're kind of like, I don't know what this is, and especially like when I'm doing with big corporate groups, they're like, okay, laughter. Oh, that sounds crazy, and the minute they all start laughing together, it's like a light bulb switch turns on in their mind, like their eyes brighten and they're connecting and laughing and talking to each other. And it's just such a beautiful thing. It's like the little kid in them comes back out, but it's mixed with the wisdom of the adult. And it's just like they light up. And that's the beauty of what I discovered when I took that program, is it lit me up and gave me the courage to be able to face what I needed to face. And I just love sharing that with other people now. It is so powerful. It's such a simple thing. You think about it, you can laugh and like, just in an instant, you can laugh. And in an instant, it lifts you up. I mean, it's just like this. If there were drugs on the market that could do that, right? Somebody be making a fortune from it.
No, that's a really good point, though, because when you laugh, one, it changes your psychology of things, but it also gives you a little distance from whatever it is you're dealing with.
Oh, completely. It is. Humor is like, makes it so much easier to face a challenge if you can laugh about it just a little bit, or just find some kind of amusement, even if it's not about the actual challenge. If it's about something else, then you can come back to the challenge feeling lighter. And it's just so powerful. And it's something we forget to use in our day-to-day lives. So that's what I help people to do, is figure out how to be proactive about it, about having it in your life more. It's not, sometimes people think, oh, it just happens or it doesn't happen. I'm like, no, you can lean in that direction,
Absolutely. One of the things that you mentioned that I find really interesting too is the idea of just playing dumb games, not even keeping score, just having fun. That kind of connects you with that inner child in you, doesn't it?
Yeah, completely. And it's like one of my favorite things, like at the end of a long day with my husband and I, there's a little game called Heads Up it's just basically a guessing game on the phone. And we always end up laughing playing it, and it's challenging our brains too, because it's like a little quiz game, but it also just lightens us up. And one or the other of us will say something silly in the process of it, and we just end up laughing so hard. And it's kind of a, you had to be there kind of laugh, but it's still, it's also connection at the end of the day, because there's so much disconnection. You see studies out there about how lonely people tend to be, and playing games is such a great way to connect with people.
It is. And you can connect online. You can connect so easily. And even online can have a profound impact.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
So laughter really sent your life in a different direction, didn't it?
It really did. I ended up doing a lot of professional speaking, and, it didn't instantly make everything automatically better in my life, right? So everybody still faces challenges all the time, but it gave me this incredible tool to be able to empower myself in the middle of whatever I'm facing. So I use it regularly.
How does it empower you? How?
Okay, so I'm prone to stress. I don't know if you've ever heard of an HSP, highly sensitive person.
Yeah.
It's a sort of, yeah. So I took the little HSP quiz. I was talking about something one day and somebody said, "Oh, you sound like an HSP." So I went, I got the book, took the quiz, checked every answer. Yes, 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 yes. And so what that means is that my brain processes things very deeply, which leads to being creative and empathetic and all sorts of wonderful, conscientious, lots of wonderful things too, but it also easily overwhelmed by your own mind, because they've done MRI scans and HSP's minds are just going, right? And so the stress level and the overwhelm can be very high for me. And so the laughter feels like it instantly is a circuit breaker, something that just interrupts that pattern. And it's impossible to be that kind of stressed and worried when you're laughing. And so it's like a reset button for me. And I need it. I need it more than your average person because my brain just doesn't stop, right? I use meditation. I'll do all sorts of tools. But if I need something fast and quick, laughter is always very, very helpful.
Well, it sounds like laughter, in addition to being a circuit breaker, is a meditation.
Oh, yeah. It can be a meditation for sure. Yeah. And there's one of the things I teach people how to laughter exercise is one thing that I learned to do when I became a certified laughter leader, which is similar to laughter meditation. Laughter meditation simply kind of goes on long and has more of a mindfulness element to it, but they're both very, very similar. But it's not for everybody. For some people, that feels like a bit of a stretch for them to do that. So I also teach other ways to tap into your laughter. But it does just let the stress lift off you and let the overwhelm lift off you in whatever form you choose to find it. It's very, very helpful, whether it's playing games or watching a favorite comedian on Netflix or, doing laughter exercise, laughter meditation. It's all good.
What are some of the laughter exercises that you do?
Let me see. So, all right, I'll teach you the one I teach the most, because it's the one people find easiest to do when they're feeling self-conscious about their laugh or feeling self-conscious about laughing in front of other people. And it's called the silent laugh, which on audio, I'll do the slightly less silent version of it so you can hear it a little bit.
Okay.
And it kind of sounds like this.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then you can do it completely silently as well, which, whenever I teach this to groups, I invite them to experiment with it in a public restroom when they're stressed.
But actually, that's really brilliant in that you can carry it with you anywhere. You can do it almost anywhere.
Right. If you're in a stressful meeting and there's a bathroom break, or if you're like the holidays and your family's driving you nuts, you can take a bathroom break and nobody needs to know you're doing it. You can just go do a silent laugh, give yourself, it only takes about 10 seconds. And it's a wonderful little break. And a funny story with that. One lady, I was sitting in a doctor's waiting office, and this woman keeps like looking at me, side-eyeing me. She's like, And finally she said to me, "Are you the laughter lady?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I heard you speak at a conference, and I think of you every time I go to the bathroom." And the other people in the waiting area were like, "What did you tell her to do in the bathroom?" Yeah. So
it's a fabulous entree into better mental health. Mental health is something we don't really talk about much, but I personally think that we need tools to help us with our mental health throughout our lifetime. And if we could start teaching kids when they're younger, laughter, meditation, whatever the tool may be, it's something that you can take with you for your entire life.
It's so true. It is so true. And it's important to remember what your tools are too, because we forget what they are when you're stressed. And so I like to keep a list of my tools. So I go, which tool today,
Okay, what's on your list?
I don't have a list in front of me, but I taught yoga for many years. So there's a number of different yoga breathing techniques. They're definitely on my list that quiet me very quickly and easily. Obviously, laughter exercises on my list. There's also things like calling my best friend and getting support. There's things like, go for a walk, be out in nature, play with my cats. Journaling is a big one for me. Yeah, meditating. So it's a very long list, and some of it can also be like just a mindset shift, like whatever happens, I'll handle it. Or just like little phrases that I say to myself to help myself with different things, or just be here now in this moment, and that's all I need to focus on in this moment, just one step at a time. And so there's all sorts of things like that.
I think learning to be present is really huge, and it takes practice. I know I kind of go in and out of it a little bit, and when I find myself out of it, I stop and I consciously tell myself, be here now, be present. And it just changes your life so profoundly. And
it does.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say that's like a key to finding more joy in your life and more gratitude, is being able to be present. Because like just last week, I was taking a walk outside, and, my mind was running through different things while I'm walking. And then I just paused and took a deep breath and looked around me, and I noticed, there's a hawk sitting on the top of that lamppost. And because I paused and got more present, I would have missed that hawk completely, right? And I got to just look at this hawk, and it was kind of twilight and the beautiful sunset colors behind it. And I was like, wow, I would have missed that. And I think you miss things like that are things that can lean you in the direction of feeling joyful or feeling more grateful, that if you're not present and you're just all in your head all the time, you miss out on these gifts that are like all around you all the time. And I know for some people, when you were talking about mental health, for some people, feeling joyful, feeling grateful, or even laughing can feel like a bit of a stretch sometimes. And then they might add on it, oh, well, she's saying I should laugh more, but I don't feel like laughing. And they might beat themselves up about it, right? So I always put a little disclaimer in there that, if that's too far of a stretch for you, then to go for something that's more comforting, like what would be comforting and supportive or soothing to me right now, and start there, and it might be a nice cup of tea and a soft blanket or something, favorite TV show, whatever, to go for comfort if that feels like too far of a stretch.
I think learning to be present is so important, because if you're not present, you miss your life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Life is happening now.
Yeah. You're living in your head. You're running through your to-do list, or whoever you're angry at, or whatever is on your mind, and you're not here now. And by being present, you enter, I think, a realm of creativity and possibility. Because if you're in your head, you're just running those same diatribes over and over again, with a little variation on your to-do list maybe. But when you're present, all of a sudden, it's a real mind shift. It's almost like a time warp, where presence is so deep and continual. And when you can stay present, that's when you start to get into flow and have those sorts of peak optimal experiences that are just fantastic.
Definitely. I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah. Because the opposite of that, the patterns in your mind, I mean, everybody has their unique patterns, but it's basically like you can change out the characters. You can change out the people. It's the same thing over and over again. Whatever it is for you, it's the same patterns. You just, put in different people, put in different situations, but it's like plug and take them out, put them back in, or you put different ones in. It's the same thing.
And if you can shift the way you think, shift your mindset, now you get to have totally different characters doing different things.
Right. But if you're here in the now, you kind of can put all of that in a bigger picture perspective of the things that you're worrying about may not be these giant things that you think they are. And in the moment, you give yourself the freedom to see the bigger picture.
And I think in the moment too, you may have the freedom to start to observe some of your some of your thought reruns, if you will, your patterns, and perhaps decide, boy, that doesn't suit me. Maybe I want to replace that with something or just get rid of it.
Yeah.
But you have to become conscious of that before you can make that shift.
Awareness is always the key. And sometimes people want to skip to, like when I teach meditation, right? And people notice how busy their minds are. That's part of meditation. And sometimes people think, oh, I'm not meditating right. I can't quiet my mind. No. The victory in the meditation, the thing to celebrate is the moment of awareness where you realize your mind has drifted and you can watch your mind. That's the beautiful thing to celebrate, because if you're not aware, it is running you without your full permission, without your full consciousness. And so rather than go, oh, I can't do it right, or, oh, I'm a bad meditator, or, oh, I can't quiet my mind, go, yay, I'm aware. Wow, there's another moment of awareness. I keep practicing awareness, because I know I have meditated for, 30, 40 years now at this point. And my mind sometimes will get a moment of quiet and sometimes it doesn't. And if the timer goes off and my mind's still been all over the place, at least I've sat and done some deep breathing for a while, to look for the victory in it always. Because if you're sitting and you're just deciding to be more aware, that's always a victory.
I think the discipline too of meditation is really important, at least for me. I learned to discipline my mind. When it's running, I can see it. And I know that with some discipline, I can quiet it down. And the more you practice that, the better you get at it. Yes. And when you do get to that state where it's total silence, connection, it's just a wonderful experience. And I think that it's self-reinforcing after a while. I've been meditating about 15 years, I guess now. And it is one of the things in my life I could not live without.
Oh, me too. It's a daily thing for me. I think it helps me. And I know at times when I've skipped it for a few days, I'm not as centered and I'm not as aware. It's like a start button for my day,
It's funny you say that. I'm the exact same way. And I wake up in the morning, I find 5 things to be grateful for every day. They have to be different. I can't repeat the same list. And then I meditate. And on the very rare occasion I miss that morning meditation, something's just askew. Nothing's quite right. Yeah. I can't explain it. And I've also found that when I'm stressed or looking at major decisions or anything, I meditate twice a day. And that second meditation, which I really need to get back to on a more regular basis, really makes a difference.
It does. I will do little bits of 5 minutes here or there throughout my day. If I'm doing something that's particularly challenging for me, which in my case usually involves technology in some form or other, I will set a timer and force myself to take breaks where I will do some deep breathing and meditation for 5 minutes before I go back to it. And honestly, in that relaxed space, like you were saying earlier about how it opens you up, being in the moment opens you up to creativity. It's like, because I'm relaxed, like, a creative idea or creative solution to an issue will come to me when I have that little moment of quiet, that if I had just kept plowing forward, it wouldn't have. So at least not right away. So, and sometimes that moment of creativity just makes your day and makes everything you're dealing with more smoothly. It's like from your inner wisdom going, hey, try this. Hey, give this a try. And I'm like, oh, why did I think of that before? Oh, because my mind wasn't open to the creativity of it. Yeah.
If you could give some advice to somebody who's they're in the middle of a bump in the road, they cannot get their mind still, they are just stressed to the max, could you give them 3 ways or 3 steps towards calming down and being more centered and finding some peace in the moment?
Well, I would say for them to start their own list of thinking about what helps them, because it's not the same for everybody. For one person, they might have the sound of the ocean on their phone that they could just put that on and imagine they're at the beach or something. But other people be like, I don't like the ocean, it's not my thing, So to figure out what it is that helps you when you are calm, where are you? Where have you been? And then add to that list over time and keep it somewhere convenient, like a notes list on your phone or on your computer that you always have it. Because here's the thing, when you are in the middle of the stress and the story in your mind is running full force, you will forget what your tools are often. And so that's when, if you can look at the list and go, oh, I'll try that. Or let me try, and you might have to try 2 or 3 things, but the fact that you have the list and you can remind yourself to try the things, that's the way back. And so I'm a big believer in creating your own toolbox and having it handy.
Thank you for listening. I hope you'll support this podcast by becoming a Bump 2 subscriber. Buy us a cup of coffee. It's your support that makes this podcast and website possible. I hope you found something in today's podcast that inspires you along your own life's path, because sometimes a bump in the road is actually a portal into a more conscious and meaningful life.